My sister-in-law copied everything I did. Same haircut, same clothes, same hobbies. I thought it was annoying, but harmless. Then she introduced me to her new boyfriend, and I recognized him immediately. It started 3 years ago when my husband's younger sister moved to our city. She'd just graduated college with a psychology degree and wanted a fresh start after a bad breakup. My husband and I helped her find an apartment, co-signed her lease, and introduced her to our friend group. We were trying to be supportive. His parents had asked us to look out for her. Within a month, she'd cut her hair to match mine. Dark brown bob with bangs. I'd had this style for 5 years after spending my 20s growing out a pixie cut disaster. She claimed she'd always wanted to try it, that she'd seen a similar cut in a magazine. But when she showed up to Sunday dinner looking like my reflection, my mother-in-law actually did a double take. Then came the wardrobe. She started showing up to family dinners in outfits nearly identical to what I'd posted on social media the week before. Same black leather jacket from Zara, same vintage band tees, same ankle boots. I'd post a photo on Friday. By Monday, she'd own the same pieces. My husband thought I was being paranoid. "She's 23, he'd say. "She's figuring out her style. She looks up to you. It's flattering." But it wasn't flattering. It was suffocating. I'd mention a new restaurant I wanted to try. She'd go there first and post photos. I'd talk about a hiking trail I'd discovered. She'd hike it the next morning and send me pictures. I'd share excitement about a concert. She'd buy tickets to the same show. The copying went deeper than fashion. I'd post about a hard day at work, and she'd text me an hour later describing an eerily similar situation at her job. I'd share a childhood memory, and suddenly she'd have an almost identical story from her own past. It was like she was rewriting her history to mirror mine. My friends started noticing. "That's weird, right?" my best friend said over coffee. "She's like your shadow." But every time I tried to bring it up to my husband, he'd defend her. "She's family. She's going through a hard time. She just moved here. She's trying to fit in." So I tried being the bigger person. I'd buy 2 of something I liked and gift her 1. Maybe if I helped her find her own style, she'd stop copying mine. Instead, she started asking for links to everything I owned. Every dress, every piece of jewelry, every kitchen appliance. She'd text me screenshots. "Where did you get this? I love it so much." It felt invasive, but I kept my mouth shut. Family is family. And my husband's parents loved how close we were becoming. They'd coo over photos of us looking like twins. "You two could be sisters," my mother-in-law would say. The escalation happened gradually. I took up pottery as a stress reliever after a promotion at work left me burned out. I'd found a small studio downtown that offered evening classes. It became my sanctuary. 2 hours a week where I could turn off my phone and just create. 2 weeks after I mentioned it at family dinner, my sister-in-law enrolled in the same studio. Same class, same instructor. She sat right next to me at the wheel. "I thought it would be fun to do together," she said brightly when I showed up and saw her there. I started reading mystery novels before bed. She joined my book club. I didn't remember inviting her, but she showed up to the next meeting with the book already finished, ready to discuss every plot point I'd mentioned enjoying. I mentioned wanting to learn Italian because my husband and I were planning a trip to Rome for our 5th anniversary. She downloaded Duolingo that night and texted me screenshots of her progress. By the end of the week, she'd completed more lessons than me. "We can practice together," she suggested. Every hobby, every interest, every small thing I mentioned in passing became hers within days. My coworkers thought it was creepy. "That's not normal," my colleague said when I showed her my sister-in-law's Instagram, which had started to look like a curated copy of my own feed. Same filters, same captions, same aesthetic, but my husband wouldn't hear it. "You're being territorial," he said one night when I finally snapped about the pottery class. "She's trying to bond with you. Why can't you just let her?" "Because I need one thing that's mine," I said. "Just one thing that isn't ours." He looked hurt. "She's my little sister. I thought you'd be happy she likes spending time with you." I felt guilty then. Maybe I was being selfish. Maybe I was making this bigger than it needed to be. The breaking point should have been when she dyed her hair the exact shade I'd just switched to. I'd gone to my hairstylist after 3 years of the same color and asked for something lighter, caramel highlights, a change for summer. 2 days later, my hairstylist texted me, "Hey, someone came in yesterday with your photo asking for the identical color. Same placement, same tone. She said she was your sister-in-law. Just wanted to check if you'd recommended me." I stared at the message for a long time. She'd taken my photo, shown it to my hairstylist, requested my exact hair. When I confronted my sister-in-law about it, she acted confused. "I just thought it looked pretty. Is that not okay? I can change it back." But she didn't change it. And at the next family dinner, my mother-in-law gushed about how we looked like we could be biological sisters now. I stopped posting on social media. I stopped mentioning plans. I stopped sharing anything personal around her. But by then, she'd embedded herself so deeply into my life that avoiding her meant avoiding family events, friend gatherings, and even my own hobbies. Then, last month, everything changed. My sister-in-law called my husband and asked if we could meet for dinner. She'd been seeing someone for 6 weeks and things were getting serious. She wanted us to meet him. She sounded happy, almost giddy. Maybe, I thought, this would help. Maybe having a boyfriend would give her something else to focus on besides mirroring my life. We agreed to meet at an Italian restaurant downtown. The irony wasn't lost on me. We arrived first. My husband was checking his phone when I saw him walk in. Tall, sandy hair, blue button-down. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might be sick. His name was Devin. I dated him for 8 months in college. It ended badly, really badly. We'd met sophomore year in a communications class. He was charming, funny, and attentive in all the ways that felt important at 20. For months, everything was perfect. He'd wait outside my classes, bring me coffee, remember small details I'd mentioned. My friends thought he was the ideal boyfriend. Then I'd found him in my dorm room with my roommate, in my bed, wearing the watch I'd given him for his birthday. When I confronted him, he didn't apologize. He didn't even look ashamed. He told me I was overreacting, that it didn't mean anything, that I was being dramatic. When I broke up with him, he launched a campaign, told everyone I was unstable, possessive, that I'd invented the whole thing because I was jealous of his friendship with my roommate. Half our friend group believed him. I lost friends, my roommate, my social circle. I transferred schools the next year just to escape the aftermath. I hadn't seen Devin in 7 years. When our eyes met across the restaurant, his face went pale. Then my sister-in-law walked back from the bathroom, smiling wide, and slid into the booth next to him. "There you are," she said cheerfully, linking her arm through his. "Devin, this is my brother's wife, the one I've told you so much about." She'd told him about me. Of course she had. She told everyone about me. I was her favorite subject. Devin recovered quickly, extended his hand across the table. "Nice to meet you." I shook it, my hand trembling. My husband noticed nothing. He was already making small talk about where Devin worked, what he did, how he and my sister-in-law met. "Online," Devin said smoothly. "One of those apps. Right place, right time." Throughout dinner, I couldn't eat. I watched them. The way he touched her arm, the way she laughed at his jokes, the way he'd glance at me when he thought no one was looking. She was wearing an outfit similar to what I'd worn on my 3rd date with my husband, a cream sweater and gold necklace. I'd posted a photo of that night years ago. It couldn't be a coincidence. It couldn't be. Devin ordered wine without looking at the menu, choosing the exact type my husband always ordered for us. He asked my sister-in-law questions about her work using the same phrasing my husband used with me. Small thing, details that would seem innocent if I wasn't watching for them. After appetizers, my sister-in-law excused herself to take a call from her mom. My husband went to the bathroom. Devin and I were alone. The silence stretched between us. Then he spoke first. "Small world," he said casually, swirling his wine. "Does she know?" I asked quietly. "Know what?" "That we dated. That you—" "Ancient history," he interrupted, smiling. "I barely remember it." Liar. I could see it in his eyes. He remembered every second. "Then why are you here?" I asked. His smile widened. "She's sweet, and she clearly has good taste." His eyes traveled over me slowly. Always has, apparently. My skin crawled. What's that supposed to mean? Come on. You know she idolizes you. Wants to be you. It's kind of cute, actually. Stay away from her. Why? Worried I'll break her heart like I broke yours? He leaned forward. Or worried she'll figure out that the perfect life you've built isn't as perfect as you pretend. Before I could respond, my husband returned, followed by my sister-in-law. She was glowing, talking about how happy she was we could all be together. The rest of dinner passed in a blur. I smiled when appropriate, laughed at the right moments. But my mind was racing. When we got home, I went straight to my laptop. I pulled up my sister-in-law's social media and started scrolling. Instagram first, then Facebook, Twitter, everything. I went back months looking for clues, looking for anything that would explain this. Then I found it. A photo from 8 months ago. She was at a coffee shop near her apartment, sitting by the window with a book. The caption read, "Sunday Vibes." But in the background, barely visible, sitting 2 tables away with a laptop, was Devin. He was angled toward her, watching her. This photo was from before they supposedly met on a dating app 6 weeks ago. This was 8 months ago. I checked the date on her relationship announcement post. 6 weeks ago. But Devin had been in her orbit for at least 8 months. I kept digging. Another photo, 4 months ago. My sister-in-law at a farmer's market. Devin was visible in the background, standing at a produce stand. Same market. Same day. 3 months ago. My sister-in-law at a bookstore. Devin in the mystery section behind her. They hadn't met 6 weeks ago. He'd been following her, or watching her, for months. But why? I stayed up until 3 a.m. scrolling through her entire digital history, creating a timeline. And that's when the pattern emerged. Every time my sister-in-law posted about me, Devin would like it within minutes. Every photo of us together. Every mention of something I'd done or said. He was paying attention, not to her, to me. I checked his profile. He'd made it private, but I could see his tagged photos. In one from 2 months ago, he was at a bar with friends. In the background of the photo, blurry but recognizable, was my sister-in-law, at the same bar. They'd been in the same places for months before allegedly meeting online. This wasn't random. This was deliberate. I woke my husband up. "We need to talk about your sister and Devin," he groaned. "Can it wait until morning?" "No." I showed him everything. The photos, the timeline, the impossibility of their meeting story. He looked tired. So they ran into each other before matching online. So what? This city isn't that big. He's been following her. Or they have similar routines and didn't notice each other until the app. I dated him in college. He destroyed my life. And now he's dating your sister who's been copying everything about me for 3 years. You don't think that's connected? He rubbed his eyes. You think Devin is dating my sister to get back at you for something that happened 7 years ago? That's a bit much, don't you think? He looked at me tonight like he won something. He looked at you like someone who ran into an ex. Awkward, but not malicious. My husband took my hand. I know you don't like my sister's copying thing. And I know seeing your ex was uncomfortable. But you're connecting dots that aren't there. Devin seems nice. She seems happy. He's not nice. He's a liar and a manipulator. People change. It's been 7 years. But I knew Devin. He hadn't changed. He'd just gotten better at hiding. I couldn't sleep. At 6 a.m., I texted my old roommate from college, the one who'd stayed friends with my former roommate after everything fell apart. I need her number. It's important. She responded an hour later with the number and a question mark. I called. We hadn't spoken in 7 years. She answered on the third ring. Hello? It's me, I said. I know this is weird, but I need to ask you about Devin. Silence. Then, why? He's dating my sister-in-law. Jesus Christ, she breathed. Get her away from him. My blood went cold. What happened? After you left, it got worse. He became obsessed. He'd show up at my dorm at weird hours, called constantly. Said you'd ruined everything, and I was his only real connection. When I tried to end things, he started posting lies about me online. Anonymous accounts. He made my life hell for a year. Did you report him? I tried. He was too smart. Nothing was traceable. By the time I graduated, he'd moved on to someone else. Another girl. She looked like you, actually. Same hair. Similar style. It lasted 3 months before she got a restraining order. Why didn't anyone tell me? You were gone. And honestly, I was ashamed. You tried to warn everyone and nobody listened, including me. I think he's doing this on purpose. I think he found my sister-in-law because of me. Then you need to protect her. Because Devin doesn't date people. He collects them. And when he gets bored, he destroys them. After I hung up, I sat with my coffee trying to process everything. Devin was dangerous. And he was targeting my sister-in-law to get to me. But I had no proof beyond my history and my former roommate's word. If I told my sister-in-law, she'd run to my husband. My husband would defend Devin. I'd look paranoid and jealous. It would split the family. I needed concrete evidence. For the next 2 weeks, I became a different person. I barely slept, barely ate. I followed them when I could, staying far enough back that they wouldn't notice. I monitored my sister-in-law's social media obsessively, checking every few hours for new posts, new photos, new clues. I checked Devin's tagged photos and locations. I turned my suspicion into careful, methodical investigation. I started a spreadsheet. Dates, times, locations, every piece of evidence I could find, every connection I could make. I discovered Devin had been fired from his last job for inappropriate conduct with a coworker. The details were sealed, but I tracked down a former colleague who agreed to meet me at a diner across town. She was nervous, looking over her shoulder the entire time. I shouldn't be talking to you, she said. I signed an NDA. Please. My sister-in-law is dating him. Her face went pale. Get her away from him. Now. She told me everything. How Devin had fixated on a woman in their department. How he'd learned her schedule, her routines, her favorite lunch spots. How he'd engineered run-ins that seemed coincidental. How when she finally agreed to go on a date with him, he became possessive immediately. Controlling. When she tried to end things, he'd shown up at her apartment, her gym, her parents' house. She quit rather than pursue charges, the colleague said. Devin's family has money, connections. They threatened to destroy her career if she made any formal complaints. She moved to Seattle and changed her name. Do you have her contact information? No. And honestly, I don't blame her for disappearing. I found his college roommate through a friend of a friend. It took 3 tries before he agreed to meet me. We sat in a bar downtown, and he looked exhausted before I even asked my first question. I wondered when someone would come asking, he said. You know about the pattern? I lived with him for 2 years. I saw everything. He took a long drink. Devin would fixate on women, study them like they were projects, learn everything about them, their favorite music, their childhood fears, their insecurities. Then he'd methodically insert himself into their lives while destroying their other relationships. He called it the game, the roommate continued. He'd keep score, points for making them cry, points for making them doubt their friends, points for making them completely dependent on him. The ultimate win was getting them to the point where they'd have nobody else. Then he'd leave, just disappear, just to see if he could break them. Why didn't you say something? I tried once, told one of the girls what he was doing. Devin found out. He threatened to tell everyone I'd stolen from him, said he'd plant evidence if he had to. I was on scholarship. One accusation and I'd lose everything. He looked at me. I'm not proud of it, but I was 20 and scared and I picked myself over some girl I barely knew. Do you remember any names? Anyone I could talk to? He gave me 3 names. Women from college, women from after. One wouldn't return my calls. One hung up on me. But the third agreed to talk. Her name was Natalie. She was living in Portland now, working as a graphic designer. We video chatted late one night and she looked so much like me it was unnerving. Same hair color, same build, similar style. He found me through a mutual friend, she said. I'd just gotten out of a bad relationship. I was vulnerable. And he was perfect. He said all the right things. Knew exactly what I needed to hear. How long did it last? 6 months. By month 3, I'd stopped seeing my friends. He'd convinced me they were toxic, that they didn't really care about me. By month 5, I'd quit my job because he said my boss was flirting with me and it made him uncomfortable. By month 6, I had nobody. Just him. What happened? He left. Just didn't come home one day. Blocked my number. Disappeared. I found out later he'd been dating someone else the entire time, planning his exit the whole time we were together. She wiped her eyes. I tried to kill myself 2 months later. Obviously, I didn't succeed, but it took me years to recover. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Just stop him from doing it to your sister-in-law. I gathered screenshots, testimonies, a timeline of his victims, 3 women over 7 years. All of them looked similar to me. All of them had ended up isolated, then discarded. All of them had been left destroyed. I compiled everything into a folder, printed copies, made backups. This was real evidence. This was proof. But when I brought everything to my husband, he shut me down. This is insane, he said, looking at my evidence spread across the kitchen table. Papers everywhere. Screenshots. Printed timelines. My laptop open to a dozen tabs. You've been stalking my sister's boyfriend. You've been investigating him like a criminal. This has gone too far. He is a criminal. Look at this pattern. Look at these women. These are just stories. Hearsay from strangers on the internet. You're so determined to believe the worst that you're manufacturing a conspiracy. He picked up one of the printed statements. This woman could be anyone. You don't even know if she's telling the truth. Why would she lie? Why would Devin spend 7 years planning some elaborate revenge against you? Why would any of this make sense? He looked at me with something like pity. I think you need to talk to someone, a therapist, because this level of obsession isn't healthy. I'm not obsessed. I'm trying to protect your sister. From what? A guy who seems to genuinely care about her? Who makes her happy? He started gathering up my evidence, stacking it carelessly. You've been following them around. You've been calling his exes and his former co-workers. You've been cyber-stalking him. If anyone's behaving like a stalker here, it's you. The words hit me like a slap. You think I'm the problem? I think you went through something traumatic in college that you never properly dealt with. I think seeing Devin again triggered something, and instead of processing it like a healthy adult, you've spiraled into this paranoid fantasy where he's some kind of supervillain targeting my sister to hurt you. It's not a fantasy. I have proof. You have circumstantial evidence that you've interpreted to fit your narrative. That's not the same thing. He sat down, looking exhausted. I love you, but you're scaring me right now. This isn't like you. What if I'm right? What if something happens to her and you didn't listen? Then I'll deal with it. But I can't enable this behavior. You need help. That's when I realized Devin was winning. He'd positioned me perfectly. The jealous ex. The paranoid sister-in-law who couldn't stand seeing her husband's sister happy. Every piece of evidence I gathered just made me look more unhinged, more obsessed, more dangerous. My husband was looking at me like I was a stranger, like I was someone he needed to be careful around. You really don't believe me? I asked. I believe you went through something difficult in college. I believe Devin hurt you. But that doesn't mean he's some mastermind stalker targeting my sister to hurt you 7 years later. That's not how real life works. Then how do you explain the photos? Him being in the background months before they supposedly met. Coincidence? This city has 2 million people, but we all frequent the same neighborhoods, the same coffee shops, the same markets. It's not that weird. I wanted to scream, but I could see in his eyes that nothing I said would change his mind. Devin had been too careful. The evidence was suggestive, but not definitive, and my husband thought I was spiraling. 2 weeks later, my sister-in-law called me. Can we meet for coffee? Just us? I agreed, hoping maybe she'd seen something. Maybe she was starting to question things. We met at the same coffee shop from her Instagram photo, the one where Devin had been watching her months before they allegedly met. She ordered first, a lavender latte, the same drink I always ordered. When we sat down, she looked nervous. I wanted to talk to you about something. Okay. Devin told me you two dated in college. My heart stopped. He did? He said it didn't end well, that you were going through some mental health stuff and blamed him when things fell apart. He said you spread rumors about him that cost him friends. There it was. He was preempting my warnings. Rewriting history again. That's not what happened. He said you'd say that. She looked sad. Look, I know things have been weird between us lately. I know I copied your style and your hobbies, and maybe I took it too far. I was just trying to feel close to you because you seemed so put together and I was struggling. Listen to me. But now Devin says you've been investigating him, following us, calling his ex-girlfriend, his former co-workers. Her eyes filled with tears. Why can't you just be happy for me? Because he's dangerous. Because he's done this before to multiple women. Because you can't stand that I found someone? She stood up. You've never liked me. You've always thought I was annoying. And now that I finally have something good, you want to destroy it. That's not true. Devin warned me you'd try this. He said when we got serious, you'd probably interfere. He showed me texts from his ex saying she tried to warn his next girlfriend too, that she's still obsessed with him years later. She grabbed her bag. I need space from you. My brother and I talked. We think it's best if we see less of each other for a while. She left. I sat alone in the coffee shop, realizing Devin had executed his plan perfectly. He'd turned my sister-in-law against me, convinced my husband I was unstable, isolated me from my husband's family, and he'd done it all while looking like the victim. For the next month, I barely saw my sister-in-law. Family dinners happened without me. My husband would go alone, making excuses about me not feeling well or having to work late. I knew what they were really saying, that I was unstable, that I needed help, that I couldn't be around my sister-in-law without causing problems. My husband became distant, treating me like I was made of glass, like I might shatter at any moment. He'd watch me carefully, monitoring my moods, checking my phone usage. One night, I caught him looking at my browser history, seeing if I was still researching Devin. "I'm just worried about you," he said when I confronted him. "You don't trust me. I'm trying to help you." But it didn't feel like help. It felt like surveillance. His parents called, concerned about my mental health. Devin had apparently expressed worry about my behavior to them, saying he felt bad that his presence was causing me stress, saying he'd offered to stay away from family events to make me more comfortable. But my sister-in-law wouldn't hear of it. She loved him too much to keep him away from her family. "Maybe you should talk to someone," my mother-in-law suggested gently during one of her phone calls. "Process some of those college feelings. It's clear you haven't fully moved past what happened, and there's no shame in that. Therapy can be really helpful." "I don't need therapy. I need people to listen to me." "We are listening, sweetheart. We hear that you're in pain. We just think the pain is coming from inside, not from Devin." I stopped answering their calls, stopped going to family events even when invited. I couldn't sit there watching everyone fawn over Devin while he smiled his perfect smile and played his perfect role. At work, I couldn't focus. I'd stare at my computer screen, seeing nothing. My boss pulled me aside, concerned. "Is everything okay at home? Your performance has been slipping." "I'm fine. Just some family stuff." "Do you need some time off?" Maybe I did. Maybe I was losing it. Maybe 7 years ago had broken something in me that never properly healed, and seeing Devin again had cracked me wide open. I started doubting everything, my memories, my judgment, my version of events from college. Had it really been as bad as I remembered? Or had I exaggerated it over the years, turning a messy breakup into something more sinister? I felt like I was going crazy. Maybe I was. Maybe everyone was right, and I was manufacturing a conspiracy out of coincidences and unresolved trauma. I stopped investigating, deleted my spreadsheets, threw away the printed evidence. If I was wrong, I was destroying my marriage and my relationship with my husband's family. And if I was right but couldn't prove it, what was the point? I started seeing a therapist. Not because I thought I needed one, but because everyone kept suggesting it and I thought maybe it would get them off my back. Maybe if I went through the motions of getting help, they'd trust me again. Dr. Patterson was kind, patient. She listened to my story without judgment. "Do you think I'm crazy?" I asked her after laying everything out. "I think you went through something traumatic in college that left you with trust issues around a specific person. I think seeing that person again, especially in a position where he could hurt someone you care about, triggered a very strong protective response. Whether that response is proportional to the actual threat is something we can explore." That's a therapist's way of saying yes. It's a therapist's way of saying it's complicated. But it wasn't complicated to me. Either Devin was dangerous or I was paranoid. There was no middle ground. Then one night, my sister-in-law called me at 2 a.m. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. "He's in my apartment," she sobbed. "He won't leave. He's going through my phone. He's saying he knows I talked to you and I betrayed him. I'm locked in the bathroom. I'm scared." Every doubt vanished. "Call 911. He'll hear me. Please just come. Please." I woke my husband. "Your sister needs help. Now." We drove to her apartment in record time. I called 911 from the car. The police arrived right after us. They found Devin in her bedroom, rifling through her dresser. He had photos of her spread across the bed, photos she didn't know existed, of her sleeping, of her getting dressed, of her in the shower, hundreds of photos taken over months. He'd installed cameras in her apartment, tiny ones hidden in vents and smoke detectors and behind picture frames. He'd been watching her constantly since they started dating. When the police tried to arrest him, he stayed calm. "This is a misunderstanding. Those are her phone's backup photos. I never gave you my phone," my sister-in-law said from behind me. She was shaking. "I never gave you my password. And those angles? Those are from cameras." They found the cameras, 4 of them. 1 in her bedroom, 1 in her bathroom, 1 in her living room, 1 in her kitchen. Devin was arrested. My sister-in-law spent the night at our house shaking and crying in the guest room. "I'm so sorry," she kept saying. "You tried to warn me. You were right about everything. I'm just glad you're safe. He talked about you constantly," she said. "Even when we were together, he'd ask questions. What you liked, what you did, where you went, what you wore. I thought he was just trying to get to know my family, but he was obsessed." The investigation uncovered more. Devin had been following my sister-in-law specifically because of me. He'd seen her posts about her sister-in-law, seen photos of us together, realized she was copying me, and he'd seen an opportunity. His plan was to isolate her from me, then from everyone else. To make her so dependent on him that she'd have nobody to turn to. Then he'd destroy her completely, knowing it would destroy me too. Revenge for what happened 7 years ago, when I'd broken up with him and exposed his cheating. He kept a journal, the detective told us. Very detailed. He describes you as the one who got away. Says you were the only woman who ever rejected him. He's been tracking your life through social media for years. When your sister-in-law started copying you, he saw it as the perfect opportunity. My husband looked sick. I didn't believe you. I thought you were being paranoid. He's very good at what he does, the detective said. We found evidence of 2 other women he did this to. One took her own life. The other moved to another country. He's been doing this for over a decade. Devin was charged with stalking, harassment, violation of privacy, and several other crimes. His lawyer tried to paint me as the obsessed ex who'd manipulated the situation, but the cameras and the journal told the real story. My former roommate testified. His other victims came forward. The woman from his work who'd been forced to quit. The college girlfriend who'd gotten a restraining order. The evidence was overwhelming. He was sentenced to 5 years. My sister-in-law moved in with us while she recovered. She cut her hair short. A pixie cut. Different from anything I'd ever worn. Started therapy 3 times a week. Slowly, painfully, became her own person. I think I was trying to be you because I didn't know who I was, she admitted one night over tea. I graduated college with no idea what I wanted. No passion, no direction. And you seemed so confident, so sure of yourself. You had a career and a marriage and hobbies and friends. I thought if I could just copy what you did, eventually I'd figure it out. I'm not that confident, I told her. I know that now, but I couldn't see it then. I just saw someone who had her life together, someone my brother loved, someone my parents admired, and I wanted that so badly I didn't care that I was losing myself in the process. You're not responsible for what Devin did. I know, but I made myself vulnerable to it. If I'd had any sense of self, he never could have manipulated me like that. She's doing better now. It's been 8 months. She got a new job working with a nonprofit that helps domestic violence survivors, made friends who have nothing to do with me or my husband, found hobbies she actually enjoys, painting, rock climbing, things I've never done. Last month, she went on a date with someone new, someone kind and patient who knows her whole story. When she told me about him, she didn't compare him to anyone I dated or anyone my husband knew. She just seemed cautiously happy. I'm taking it slow, she said. Really slow. I need to make sure I'm dating him for the right reasons, not because he reminds me of someone or because I think it's what I should do. My husband apologized more times than I can count. I should have listened to you sooner. I should have trusted your instincts. I just couldn't imagine someone being that calculated, that cruel. He fooled a lot of people. That's what he does. But you saw through him immediately, because I'd seen it before. I knew what he was capable of. Devin sent letters from prison, to my sister-in-law, to me, to my husband. They went straight to his parole officer, who documented everything as evidence of his continued obsession. He's still trying to manipulate the narrative, still trying to win some imaginary game, but he already lost. My sister-in-law stopped copying me, not because I asked her to, not because of what happened with Devin, but because she finally figured out who she was without trying to be anyone else. She told me last week that she's thinking about going back to school, getting a degree in social work or counseling, using what happened to help other people. I want something good to come from this, she said, and I think something good already has. She found herself, the hard way, the painful way, but she found herself. And Devin learned that some games have consequences he didn't plan for. The copying isn't what nearly destroyed us. It was just a symptom, a sign that my sister-in-law was lost. And that made her vulnerable to someone who knew exactly how to exploit that vulnerability. Now when I look at her, I don't see my shadow anymore. I see someone who survived something horrible and came out stronger. Someone who's building a life that's entirely her own. That's worth more than any imitation ever could be.